All right, so I'm going to have us just sit in a comfortable position. And that can be simple cross legs. It can be this pose that kind of looks like Siddhasana. I don't know how much yoga people have done. I'm also fine if you want to sit sitting back on your heels. So I find that for me, if I'm dealing with any kind of low back or sacrum pain, sitting in this position can relieve my back a lot. Right, sitting simple cross legs without height underneath the buttocks can put a lot of pressure on the back. So, all right, from here, what I want you to do is just roll the shoulders down and back a few times. You can do one shoulder at a time, it doesn't matter to me. Just kind of do some movements that feel really good, that feel natural. And then maybe even roll the shoulders forward a few times. And when you do that, feel the shoulder blades move up the back and then kind of curl your back forward. So I'm a yoga teacher full time, and I've had to be on the computer a lot more than I typically am. I'd say 200% more than I typically am. So I've really noticed the stiffness that's been coming in my upper back and my neck. It gives me a lot of compassion for those of you that do work at a desk all day. And then do a few neck circles. And when you do these circles, go really slow so that you can observe any stiffness that you're holding on to, carrying with you this afternoon or this morning. And then go ahead and switch the directions. Try to even out your sides. And then bring your head back up on top of your spine. I want you to interlock your hands behind the base of your skull. And I'll turn to the side here. We're gonna do, it's gonna kind of look like an upright cat-cow. So I'm gonna have you arch the lower back, arch the middle back, and begin to arch the upper back so it feels like you're doing a back bend throughout the whole spine. And then like the cat position, you're gonna tuck the tailbone, draw the abdomen back, and allow your whole spine to round and let your chin come down to your chest. And then let's do that again. Slowly, gradually allow for your lumbar spine to move in. Find that little back bend all throughout the whole spine, even look up a little bit. And then exhale, begin to round the spine, pulling the navel in and up. Let's do that one more time. Deep breath in. And then exhale, deep breath out. And then bring your head back up on top of your spine. And what I'd like you to do is bring your hands to the center of your chest. And let's take a few moments here with the eyes closed to really move into the present moment. So I know for me during these last couple of months, my whole life has been just minute to minute, second to second. And it's really teaching me to live in the moment. So living in the moment when we're doing something physical gives you an opportunity to just drop into yourself and to connect more deeply with yourself. And now just on your own, to continue to come into the present moment. And I find that it's really important when we're doing these virtual classes that we come together in community. So it seems like you guys might all know each other and I know Rachel. And it's really important to remember that there's a real living, breathing human on the other end of the interweb doing the same exact practice with you at the same time. So again, to come into the moment, to come into community, on your next 3 exhalations, you can chant aloud, or you can just chant quietly 3 ohms to yourself. And then after you've completed that 3rd exhalation or that 3rd ohm, slowly, gently surrender the head to the seat of the heart. And then release your hands. And then let's come on to an all fours position. So hands and knees. So when you come into an all fours position, I want you to be pretty much right in the center of your mat. So at any moment you could reach the hands forward, or you can stretch your legs back, okay? From this position, what I'm gonna have you do is you're going to step your right foot forward so it comes in between your hands. So what I find easy if my hips are feeling stiff is to walk my hands over to the left, swing my right leg out to the side, and then come into a lunge that way. Now, if your knees are feeling sensitive today, of course, use a blanket for your knees or pillow, even your sweater or something like that. And what I want you to do is climb that right foot further forward, almost to the top of your sticky mat, so you have more distance in between your legs. And I want you to lunge forward, feeling your tailbone coming with you, feeling your hips coming with you. And then you're going to reach your arms out in front of you, interlock your fingers, spin your palms, and begin to raise your arms over your head. And then on an exhalation, release your arms down, and then slowly begin to straighten out your right leg, pulling your toes off the floor, opening through the back of the knee, opening through the calf, through the Achilles. And then let's come forward into that lunge again. Lunge into the right leg, take the hips forward, interlock the fingers, spin the palms, take the arms up. Again, keep lunging forward into the front leg, keep drawing the abdomen back, and breathing deep into the sides of the ribs, the sides of the waist. And then exhale, release your arms down, and then glide your hips back, raise your toes up off the floor, flex the ankle, and stretch the back of the right leg. Now, if you want a little bit more stretch or you have more flexibility, you are more than welcome to start to take your head down to your shin. But if when you do that, your hamstring really screams at you, you already feel it in this upright position, then stay there. And then inhale, look forward, come forward again into that lunge. And now take your hands on the inside of your right leg, walk your right foot out to the right a little bit, and start to open up the right knee with the right hand. So I'm kind of pulsing my knee a little bit out to the side. This is going to kind of warm us up for when we come to standing. I want you to really open up in the groin, open up in the hamstring. And then let's go back into that all fours position. So in between lunging from side to side, we're going to come into downward facing dog with the knees bent. So as you're ready, tuck your toes under, move your chest back towards your thighs, head in line with your arms, knees bent. Now with the knees bent, I want you to notice how you can lift your hips higher how when you have your knees bent, you might feel your legs working a little bit more. And just breathe here with your knees bent and the sides of your spine really extending. Breathe deeply. Breathe completely. And then touch your knees down to the floor. Walk your hands over to the right, and then let's swing that left leg out to the side and forward, coming into the lunge on the left side. Then climb your left foot further forward a little bit more. Lunge into that leg. Allow your right hip to come forward by moving your right buttock forward. Now try to keep your hips going in the direction of your left knee as you raise your arms out in front of you, interlock your fingers, and then begin to raise your arms over your head. Take another breath here. Draw the sides of the navel back and lift the sides of the ribs up. And then release. Bring your hands down and then gently rock back. Lift your toes, flex your foot, open the back of the leg. And then lunge forward. Interlock the fingers again, spin the palms, and begin to raise the arms up. So when you move your hips forward, slightly engage your right buttock and kind of push the right hip forward. And then draw the abdomen back once more, raise up through the sides of the waist. And then release your arms, glide the hips back, flex the foot, and now this time, if you want to, head comes down to the shin. And then bend the knee forward, walk your hands over to the right, move your left foot over to the side, walk your hands back in a little bit, then take your left hand to the inner left knee and just very gently pulse the leg out. So it's just a gentle external rotation of the left leg so that you can start to open up the groin a little bit more, the adductors a little bit more. And then come back into that all fours position. And let's make our way back up into downward facing dog with the knees bent. And now very slowly, gradually begin to straighten out your legs. If the heels go to the floor, fine. If they don't worry about it. Just work on getting those legs straight, the knees open. And then carefully bend your knees. Come down and rest in pose of the child. And you can have the arms in whatever formation is easiest for you right now. What I encourage you to do is go for the arm position that nurtures your nervous system. So meaning if reaching the arms forward kind of puts you on edge or creates pain, then maybe cross your hands or cross your palms and bring your forehead down onto the hands. Some of you may even feel really quieting to the brain and to the nervous system. You might feel as though when you bring your arms by your sides, that creates more of a quieting. Take 2 more breaths wherever you're at, whatever formation you're in, pose of the child. And then I want you to slowly, gradually roll your spine on up. And I want you to sit back onto your heels. So what we're going to do is a little bit of chest opening here. And this is where a belt or scarf might come in handy. This is just if you have an injury on your shoulder or something like that. So I'll show first with the belt. You'll hold on to the belt back behind you, roll the shoulders down and back, and it should kind of feel like your upper back muscles charge and come to attention. And then you're going to come forward, lower your head onto the floor, and start to raise your arms up. Okay, you can also do this with your fingers interlocked. When you do this, what I want you to be sure of is if you do this and your elbows are bent, then you know you need some help, right? That can really be injurious to the shoulders. But if you can, interlock your fingers and immediately straighten the arms and take the hands away from you. Then, keeping the hands away from you, come forward and lift the shoulders up and over the head. So you can go ahead and just join me. I can't see everybody, so I want you to just do what you can here. Making sure that you're really using your breath. Good. Again, lift your shoulders away from your ears. Allow the head to release down. And then when you're ready, come all the way on up. And then once you're up, I want you to switch the interlock of the fingers, other thumb on top. And again, immediately go for the straightening of the elbows, the rolling back of the shoulder heads, the lifting of the hands, and then the stretching forward of the sternum, the stretching forward of the abdomen, bringing the head onto the floor. Be an observer to all the sensations in your body. So try not to tune out. For me, it sometimes can be difficult in these times when I'm feeling a certain sensation of my body to just kind of tune out, but feel all the things that are happening, the shoulders, the abdomen. Feel how sometimes you want to let loose of the hands because the hands get hot. And then when you're ready, lift from your shoulders, press down into your feet to come all the way on up. Then bring your hands forward onto the floor. I want you to make your way back into dog pose. And we're going to hold downward facing dog for 3 full breaths. And I want you to be in your own body. Be an observer to yourself. And then let's walk the hands and the feet towards one another. Continue to keep your feet hip distance or slightly wider than your hips. If your hamstrings are feeling super tight today, I want you to bend your knees a little bit, then clasp your elbows and descend your head down. If you feel like your hammies are really open and you can keep your legs straight and do this, then go ahead and join me there. But more important that you're listening to yourself, you're listening to the actions of what you need to do right now. And then slowly, with your breath, inhale, come all the way up. And I want you to stand on your sticky mat. We're gonna do a couple of standing postures here. You can stand right in the middle of your mat, how I'm standing. You don't necessarily have to turn your mat unless you want to, but I'm fine however you want to turn your mat. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna balance in vrikshasana, so tree pose. So you're gonna raise your right leg up, put your foot high up to the inner thigh. You can either hold onto the ankle if the foot won't stay in place, or you can go to the wall. Right, you can use a wall to balance, I don't mind. And then bring your hands to your heart. And let's hold here and take a few breaths. Be okay with a little wobbling in your body. And then slowly release your leg, and then let's do the other side. So I've been doing a lot of simple postures like this, nothing too complicated the last couple of months, because I find that as soon as we start to especially drop into a balanced posture, it's really difficult to have your mind wander and be able to balance at the same time. Unless you have like the superpower of balance, which some people do. And then slowly release the leg. Separate your feet hip distance apart again. Raise your arms over your head, cross your hands to your elbows, and then let's fold forward again into what we call Uttanasana, or a standing forward bend. So I want this standing forward bend to be like an inversion for you, right? We do inversions, things like headstand, shoulder stand, handstands, downward facing dog, a lot for the nervous system and the brain. So in my classes, I usually try to get at least 5 to 7 minutes in of some form of inverting, and this can be that inversion. And then bring your hands onto your hips. Inhale, come all the way on up. Right, so I want to do a little bit of lateral stretching in the intercostal muscles and in the lats. So if you have yoga blocks, you can use them. You can also use a chair. But I want you to separate your legs nice and wide. And then you're going to turn your right toes out. Turn your left toes in just a little bit. And then stretch your arms out to a T. Now what I want you to do is I want you to kind of not lunge, but extend your torso back so that your left hand rests on your left thigh or knee. Your right arm is going to come up and over. And I want you to stretch as if your right arm was coming out of your right hip. Really breathe deep into the right side ribs, the right lats. And then on an exhalation, come up, and we're taking triangle pose on the right side. So hand comes down to the shin, Top arm reaches up towards the ceiling. From this position, I want you to start to rotate. So taking a little bit of a twist in the abdomen. So ideally, it should kind of feel like you're turning your lower right waist, your lower right ribs, then the right side of your chest forward, almost like you're doing a back bend in your upper back to take triangle pose. And then to finish the pose, the eyes look up. And then on an inhalation, let's come all the way out of that, hands onto the hips as you turn your feet to the left side. Okay, now slide your right hand down the back of the right leg, reach your left arm up and over, and find that full extension of the left side of the body. And then when you come into triangle pose, try to maintain that extension as you bring your hand down onto the ankle. So I chose today to kind of do this really mindful, slower practice. For me, it's what I've been really needing in between riding a spin bike or walking. Just having something that makes me feel grounded. So hopefully you're feeling in these standing poses, everything just kind of slowing down a bit in the mind, in the body. Go ahead and find that rotation of the lower abdomen, the ribs, the chest. And then inhale, come all the way on up. Turn your feet to center, walk your feet together, and then let's take Uttanasana, but this time, instead of holding onto your elbows, hands onto your hips, fold forward, fingertips onto the floor, fully release the neck. And then slowly come all the way on up. I want you to separate your legs again, about as wide as you have them, just on the pose that we did previous to this. Turn your right foot out again, left foot in a little bit, and I want you to bend your right knee and then straighten the right knee. Just doing this a few times to just kind of lubricate the joints, get the knee used to bending unless you've already, who knows, maybe you've already done a workout this morning. Good, and then you're gonna come into the bend. You're either going to put your hand down onto the floor behind the knee, or depending on your flexibility, you can even go elbow to knee. Take your top hand onto your hip, and I want you to do like you did in triangle pose. Charge the upper back as if you're doing a back bend there, and roll that top shoulder back to the maximum. Then, take that top arm up and over in line with your ear. So extended side angle pose. Again, now getting that lateral extension of the body. And then on an inhalation, slowly come all the way on up. Turn your feet to the other side, and then you can kind of just flow and use your breath, bending and straightening. Good. If the knee is going beyond the ankle, you may want to take a little bit more distance in between your legs. And now we're going to come into the bend with the leg. You can either put your elbow onto the knee, hand onto the floor, wherever you're gonna go, top hand onto the hip, roll your shoulder open. And then extend the top arm up and over in line with your ear and breathe. And then inhale, come on back up. Place your hands onto your hips. Turn your toes to center. Widen the distance a little bit in between your legs. We're gonna fold forward right at the hip flexor creases. Come down into a standing wide-legged forward bend. And then what I'm gonna have you do is a few rounds of cat-cow in this position. So you're gonna tuck the tailbone, lift the abdomen in and up, round the spine. Inhale, begin to lift the tailbone. Begin to lift your sternum, lift your chin forward. And then exhale, rounding the spine. And then inhale, lifting the chest. Last time, rounding the spine. And then inhale, lifting your chest. And now come into the more classic variation of this. You're gonna walk your hands back and then bend your elbows and let your head descend down. Your head may touch the floor, it may not. I don't want you to stress if it doesn't, you can just let it hang. But I want you to hold this for 3 deep breaths. Again, letting this be more of an inversion, more of a calming, quieting effect on the brain. And then slowly lift your head up, walk your hands out, toe heel your feet in a few times, place your hands onto your hips, inhale, come all the way on up. And then once you come up, I want you to stand with your feet hip distance apart. Have one hand on the abdomen, have one hand on your chest, and let's stay for 5 breaths. So I've been really lucky the last few days to study with my Indian teacher online. And she's been talking a lot about how when we observe something simple like the breath, as soon as we notice it, it changes. It can be for good, it can be for bad, but I just want you to notice that here. As soon as you notice the breath, it should change. Does it become quieter? Does it become smoother? And then let's come down onto the shins again. So I want you to sit with your buttocks back onto your heels. And we're gonna do just a little bit more shoulder work. The biggest request I've had lately is shoulders and hips. That's pretty much what I hear every day. So I know that Rachel always wants shoulders and hips. So I thought we would kind of slow our practice down a little bit with that. All right, so we're gonna take the arms out to a T. I'm gonna turn to face away from you so you can see what my arms are doing. But from this position, we're gonna take Gomukhasana. Don't worry about using a belt. You're just gonna create the shape of cow face pose of the arms. And I want you to just find this range of motion that's not forced. It is your true range of motion. right? If we were to use a belt and kind of force the hands to come into that position, that's more of a passive range of motion. It's not necessarily what your true range is. This is more of what the true range is. And I find sometimes when I do this, this actually can become tiresome. My shoulders get a little bit tired, my arms get tired. Good, finish up so that you're even on both sides. And then let's take Garudasana arms. So that's eagle pose. These two poses have a leg portion. We're just doing the arm portion. So you're gonna stretch your arms out, bend the elbows. Your right arm's gonna go under your left. You're crossing at the elbows. You're crossing at your wrists. And you're pressing your palms together. I want you to lift your elbows up a little bit away from the floor. And I want you to gently turn your head from right to left. Keep pressing the elbows into one another so that you constantly feel in between your shoulder blades stretching. And then bring your head back through center, release your arms, and now left arm underneath the right, cross at the elbows, cross at the wrists. Keep pressing the elbows and then gently turn the head from side to side. Make sure that you're still being an observer to the breath, smoothing it out, completing your breath. And then come back through center, release your arms. All right, so we're gonna come onto the back now. And you won't need your belt or scarf yet, but you probably will need it unless you just have really, really loose hamstrings. But what you're gonna do is when you're on your back, we're gonna do a few windshield wipers with the legs. That's what I call these. I think that's kind of standard yoga teacher lingo. So I just want you to do this, I don't know, let's do like 5 on each side. And when you windshield wiper your legs from side to side, I don't want this to feel, the words I'm going to use are loosey-goosey. I want you to do this in a way that you're still remaining stable, meaning your abdomen should be firming. And you should be feeling like this is coming in your legs and your hips and not so much of a big arch in your lower back. Not that arching your back is bad. I'm not saying that. It's just for what we're doing right now. I do want you to maintain that stability in your abdomen. So why don't we do one more on each side? And then come on back up through center. So from this position, if you're not sure, you can look up here, but you're gonna take your right leg and cross it over your left. I always think of like when you see ladies sitting really proper, or I've seen people before like reading the paper. I don't know why I always think of that. This image pops into my head of someone reading a paper. I don't know. Anyway, so you're gonna lift your head, neck, and shoulder blades off the floor after you find that cross. Then you're gonna lift your legs in. You have to use your stomach to do that. Then you're gonna wrap your arms around your legs so that you're holding onto the left shin. And then when you put your head, neck, and shoulder blades back down, you're pulling your legs along for the ride. You should really feel your right buttock stretching. If you feel some kind of pinch, sometimes I do at the front of my hip, then don't pull so forcefully with your arms or your abdomen. Have it be more of an organic action than something that's kind of forceful. And then go ahead and release. And then switch the cross to the other leg. Cross the left leg over the right. Lift your head, neck, and shoulder blades off the floor. Lift your legs. Wrap your arms around. And then lie back down. Breathe deep into the spread of your lower back. Breathe deep into the stretch of your left hip. And then release your legs. And I want you to take a belt or a scarf. You can even use a tube sock, that's acceptable. You're gonna put the belt around the ball of your right foot and straighten out your leg to the ceiling. Straighten out your left leg along the floor. And what I want you to do in this position is really bring the attention onto the back of your knee. So trying to straighten it out, or I kind of think of the word flush, right? So don't be afraid to straighten the leg here. You won't hurt your back because you're on your back, it's extended. But really do work on opening the back of the knee so that all those fibers can stretch. And then once you get the knee to open, flex at your ankle so that you feel the whole back of the leg stretching. And then reach up and hold onto the belt with just your right hand. And then I want you to take your right leg and stretch it up and over to the right. Now the leg doesn't have to come to the floor. If it does, that's okay. But what I'd really like you to do is make sure that you don't find more slack on your belt, right? Because if you find more slack on your belt, it's almost like your legs are trying to come back together. And I want this to feel like you're truly opening up the pelvis, the stomach, the groins. And then inhale, bring the leg back up through center. Switch the belt into the other hand and then cross the leg to the left. And this should get you into your IT band, maybe your outer hip. You may just feel this intensely in your hamstring the whole time. Inhale, bring the leg back up through center, and then go ahead and switch. Place your left foot into the belt, right leg goes along the floor. And have this be more of like a meditation for you, right? So when we're doing yoga poses, oftentimes it can be when we're doing something that's kind of difficult, which there is a time and a place for that practice. I didn't necessarily want to focus on that today. But I want you to observe when you're moving in this way, the slower, more kind of dedicated way, observe how this can also be a meditation. When I first started practicing like this, I would get kind of bored and my mind would really wander. And now I find that this, as well as more of a flowing, faster paced practice, keeps me just as present. So that's kind of what we're aiming for, is that we can be present when we're moving slow and when we're moving fast. Reach up and hold onto the belt with the left hand. Take the leg over to the left. And then bring the leg back up through center. Switch hands, cross the leg over the body. And then bring the leg back up through center. Take your belt to the side. So I don't know if anyone has yoga blocks or a blanket or something like that. If you do, you can take a little chest opener here to end. If you would like, I'll show. I take my legs into simple cross legs, and then I hook my shoulder blades onto the block, or you can use pillows or a blanket. And then the head comes onto the other blanket or block. The arms can either go over the head if you want more kind of center chest and diaphragm opening, or you can go to the side if you need more pec, front of the chest opening, or sides of the chest, sorry. And when you're in this position where you're either your spine is supported, or maybe you're just flat on your back, which is fine as well. I want you to bring all of your attention into your legs. And observe how we were working the legs in the standing poses. You felt the vibration, the activity, the vibrancy. And now with some deep exhalations, can you relax the muscles of your legs, the bones of your legs? And then travel the awareness up into the pelvis. Relax the buttocks completely. Relax the lower abdomen, the center of the navel, all those muscles. Soften and release any gripping there. And then travel your awareness into the arms, into the chest. And see, with a few dedicated exhalations, can you soften there as well? And then being sensitive to the head and the neck, the jaw. With a few exhalations, let go of the hinge of the jaw. Relax completely in your throat and the face, even behind the eyelids. So when we practice yoga asana, we raise our vibration up to a certain level to where we slowly peel away layers of ourselves. We peel away all of those things maybe we don't want to have, or we find behaviors that we realize maybe aren't good for us or good for the people around us. And that's what yoga does, is it creates this vibration high enough that you feel confident enough, you feel secure enough to maybe adjust certain behaviors, to maybe adjust a certain mindset. Sometimes yoga is just there for us to calm our nervous system down. It can be used in so many different ways. And it's interesting, you don't have to necessarily go into a yoga practice with something in mind. It's like yoga just knows. The poses just know. They know what you need. So trust in your practice, whether you do yoga or not regularly, trust in your movement practice. And now what I'd like us to do is we're going to come up. You can stay on your back as well. We're going to come up into a seated posture, and that can be whatever position is comfortable to you. But what I'd like you to make sure of is that you can sit in such a way that your spine is extended, right? So you don't want to feel like you have to now at the end of this class use a lot of effort to be upright. I want you to find just enough effort to be upright, but also just enough release that you don't take yourself out of where you just came from. Oftentimes at the end of my practice, I'll sit for just a couple of minutes, and I have a few words that I use. My words, or my mantra that I use, is 3 words. It's called loving kindness, peace, and freedom. You can have your own words, you can have a song, you can just simply use your breath. But for the next minute or so, I want you to either say to yourself whatever word comes to your mind or that you see in your mind's eye. Keep that there, or maybe it's a vision of a person that you admire or you really look up to, or maybe it's an animal, I don't know, whatever it is for you. Find that vision, find that thing to bring your attention to. And whether you're going through a time right now that is hard, really hard, maybe it's not so hard, maybe you still have your job, but it's still stressful. There's so many different things right now. But whatever you are going through, find one thing to feel gratitude for. For right now, I'm grateful for Rachel for bringing you all together. It's really important for me during quarantine to be able to share the practice of yoga. That's what keeps me going. So I feel so much gratitude for her right now. And then bring one hand to the abdomen, one hand to the chest. Take 2 deep breaths, breathing into the light of the chest, and breathing into the grounding, knowing place in the abdomen. And then join your palms. And I thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Rachel.
That was such a beautiful practice. Thank you so
You
much.
feel good?
Thank you so much, both of you, for organizing this. Appreciate it.
Oh, hi.
Exactly what I needed. I was like feeling
Okay.
stressed, and I was like, I don't have time to do this. It's 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and now I'm like, I feel so much better.
Good. An hour isn't so bad, right?
It was worth it for sure.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Rachel, for organizing this.
Yeah, I hope we can do it again. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye.
Bye.